It's out. It's here, the report that Matt Gaetz and a whole bunch of Republicans never wanted you to see. Some did anonymously push for it to come out, but very few wanted to get their fingerprints on it. That House Ethics Committee report into the activities of Matt Gaetz, it's here, and it contains all the stuff that you probably imagined it would, including, though, some extra details that I think are just like chef's kiss material. So the top line of this is that they found evidence that former Representative Matt Gaetz paid tens of thousands of dollars to women for sex or drugs on at least 20 different occasions, including paying a 17-year-old girl for sex in 2017, which means that he is now effectively being accused by this ethics report of having violated a number of different laws. They say there's substantial evidence that he violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory rape, illicit drug use, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. And he tried to do just a little bit of more legal obstructing right before the report came out. He tried to file a restraining order against it, which seems, I don't know, sort of extra ironic considering his predatory behavior that he'd be wielding a restraining order against other things. But anyway, let's jump into some of the specifics. So from 2017 to 2020, Representative Gaetz made tens of thousands of dollars in payments to women that the committee determined were likely in connection with sexual activity and or drug use. And the payments totaled, that they found evidence for, more than $90,000 to 12 different women. Now, look, everybody individually can have different views on the variety of different crimes that he's being accused of having committed. You may think that some of this stuff should be illegal or shouldn't be illegal. And I think that we can have that conversation. I've long said that I think that sex work should be legalized and regulated. The people who engage in it, who should not be themselves vilified, should be protected and all of that. That said, it was illegal when he did all of these things. And I'll remind everyone, he was up for chief law enforcement officer of the nation, a guy who seems to have spent 75 to 95% of his time over a significant period of time just breaking the law casually over and over and over again, which I think should bother a lot of people. And regardless of whatever else you think, $90,000 is a lot on drugs and prostitutes. I mean, I don't know what a normal amount is. I don't know what the line is beyond which maybe you should still be stigmatized, but I don't know, Garrison, $90,000 seems like a lot of money, especially in this economy. What do you think?
No, it's a ton of money. It's a lot of money for a lot of people. And the thing that really kind of stands out to me is Matt Gaetz is in many ways a Nepo baby. Like, he is in this position because his dad is someone in the state of Florida. And I'm really curious, about how Donald Trump came to choose him for Attorney General. And I'm also really curious how he's going to justify that decision, considering the report is out, and so we know things a little bit more factually. These allegations are given a little bit more credibility. But the thing that really stands out to me is that we've actually heard about these for quite some time. This has been in the news, in the conversation for quite some time, and so now we have a little bit more evidence. Maybe this becomes a legal charge. But the decision to choose him for AG feels like an incredibly poor decision and lacking in judgment, given everything that we'd heard and now the evidence, or at least this report that we're seeing.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not like there's some, I guess, genuinely new information about a lot of different cabinet appointments that, like, theoretically, we didn't know about. In some cases, like Pete Hegseth's stuff, it seems like the Trump administration didn't know. Now, we should still criticize them for not vetting people who are being given incredibly important and sensitive national security positions. But like with Gaetz, this is the stuff we thought he did. Everybody knew that this stuff was being alleged for years. So Trump didn't apparently have any problem with it. Now, I'm gonna get in just one sec to, I guess, a little bit of the silver lining of good news for Gaetz in this report, but I also just wanna mention, so this report covers from 2017 to 2020. And so I assume that we can all assume, and then it stopped. That was it. This guy who spent years going to coke orgies and all that and traveling around and partying and all that, and then it was done. He sowed his wild oats and wouldn't do that anymore. Obviously, I'm not making any specific allegations. I'll leave that to the kids in the future, but I don't know. He doesn't seem like the sort of person to really have learned his lesson. He did it for years, but we'll see. In any event, that good news. So, although the committee alleged that Gaetz violated state laws, the panel wrote that it did not find that Gaetz violated federal sex trafficking laws, writing that, quote, although Representative Gaetz did cause the transportation of women across state lines for purposes of commercial sex, the committee did not find evidence that any of those women were under 18 at the time of travel, nor did the committee find sufficient evidence to conclude that the commercial sex acts were induced by force, fraud, or coercion. So that is the good news for the congressman. The women that he trafficked across state lines for sex had apparently had their 18th birthday at that point. So that's good. I mean, apparently he'd been having sex with them before that point, but he waited to traffic them until after they'd turned 18. So everybody slow clap, stand up, and we all acknowledge how wrong we were to besmirch this great man. Anyway, the committee wrote that it spoke to more than a half dozen witnesses who attended parties, trips, and events with Gaetz between 2017 and 2020. And here's an amazing quote. Nearly every young woman that the committee interviewed confirmed that she was paid for sex by or on behalf of Representative Gaetz. There's just apparently a crowd of these people out there. And I will remind everyone, like, the concern wrapped up in all of this wasn't just, hey, this guy who thinks he should be in charge of the law broke tons of them. It's like, we know a certain amount of stuff that he did, but does he not also seem like maybe the most blackmailable person in the country? Like, we're assuming that they got to all of them. They found all of the women, all the underage women, all the drug dealers, all of that, all the skeletons right out of the closet. I guess we're supposed to believe that. And anyway, I guess one other bit of good news, and then we could discuss that, Garrison. The 17-year-old that has been cited did not tell Gaetz she was a minor at the time, and he did not ask her age. The committee did not receive any evidence that Gaetz was aware of her age. The woman told congressional investigators she was under the influence of ecstasy at the party and that she recalled seeing Gaetz use cocaine at the party. So this is, again, arguably better than the alternative. The alternative was to believe that he had asked her age and then had sex with her anyway. No, the reality was just that he went to an orgy, got loaded up on coke, and obviously wasn't asking, hey, you look really young. Are you too young? No, obviously he didn't do that. So look, again, I guess this is better than him knowing it when he did it, but he still did it. This is still stuff that he was doing. He's a congressman at this point. Garrison, look, I'm not saying I've never partied or whatever. I just think like we should be able to have some standards for these people, especially amidst this satanic panic of them accusing all of the other Democratic elites of elite sex crimes and going after the kids. And this is exactly what they spent years talking about, first on forums, then on cable news, and now in the halls of Congress. And they don't care at all about it when it's their people doing it.
Yeah, I think there's a real asymmetry here in the way that we talk about this stuff to begin with. I mean, this will be news here on TDR. It will be news perhaps on MSNBC or maybe even on CNN. But I seriously doubt it will get the kind of coverage it deserves on Fox News. I seriously doubt that the Free Press or other places, I don't want to call out names, so I seriously doubt that these platforms will spend the time that they should on this information and really ask the tough question of like, how did we even get here? I mean, you mentioned earlier, John, that there are all of these compromised individuals being appointed or being nominated for really important posts. And the question is like, who's pushing these people and who stands to benefit from folks who are this compromised being in positions of power? It really does open our country up and our leadership up to all kinds of blackmail and coercion and all kinds of things, because from what we know, from what we've heard for months about Matt Gaetz, he brags about these things. This wasn't like a secret. You know, he bragged about, drugs and parties and things of that nature, allegedly. And so I have some real questions about how we got here and what this means for the way that foreign entities, bad actors can blackmail and leverage this information against folks in high-ranking positions.
Yeah, I think that is a great point. And that's the big concern. Again, as I said earlier, like I think a lot of this stuff should be legal. I'm not trying to do like old school moralizing against him just in some generic abstract sense. The issue is that he lied about this for a really long time. Because he's lied and because he's kept it hidden, it opens him up potentially to blackmail and foreign, influence operations and things like that. And that he's doing all of his own moralizing as an individual and as part of the MAGA movement. And he wants to be in charge of law enforcement. Much of what he's alleged to have done, individuals might frown upon, or maybe think it should be illegal or whatever. But if he was just a regular person, there's a world in which it's not terrible. But he doesn't live in that world, and he wants all the benefits of living in a world that he has never lived up to the faux standards of, which is my main issue. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.